Greetings and salutations, friends. My name is, of course, Charles Q. Banks, and I'd like to welcome you to a little discussion video that I'm very excited to be discussing, because I just watched the original visual animation, or OVA, of Gunnm Battle Angel. And unless you've been living under a rock, you will have heard of the latest film from James Cameron entitled Alita Battle Angel. And everyone's seeing it and everyone's liking it. It is an adaptation of the original Gunnm Battle Angel, and it's a manga which is entitled Battle Angel Alita. Now, a lot of people actually say the movie is entitled Battle Angel Alita, but that is not the case. That's the title of the manga, which is separate from the animated OVA, in that it goes longer and is much more detailed, and is separate from the movie, because the movie is longer and a little bit more detailed than the OVA, but is shorter and less detailed than the manga entitled Battle Angel Alita. Okay? So let's go through this one by one so you don't get confused. It's very easy. The OVA came out in 1993 and was a co-production of, Animation Films and Madhouse, which is a wonderful studio. Came out with a lot of masterpieces, One Punch Man, Hunter x Hunter, etc. But, so the OVA came out, and its title was Gunnm Battle Angel. The manga is entitled Battle Angel Alita. The movie rights were bought by James Cameron in, I think, 1998. He sat on it for 20 years and just released it as Alita Battle Angel. Got it? Good. I don't know why he sat on it for so long. Maybe just because he was waiting for all the assets to come into place and for there to be a proper atmosphere in which people would actually want to see anime adaptations. And because of the Ghost in the Shell anime adaptation into live action that came out 2017, I believe, or 2016. I don't know, and I don't really care because I haven't seen it, and it's not the same as the anime. And if I do see it, I know I'll be underwhelmed, because I've watched a lot of reviews of the Ghost in the Shell movie, and Ghost in the Shell was a masterpiece of anime filmography, if you will. And I wanted what was good about that anime, not what was good about the film that came out recently. So now that there is an atmosphere in which people are willing to watch something that was based on an anime or a manga, it came out. James Cameron, it just came out. So I just answered my own question. Thank you very much. That's just logic. So I watched it just recently, just a couple hours ago, and I wrote down some notes so that I could actually... Some notes, yes, this is not a lot, huh? But so I'm finally sitting down to discuss it, and here we are. That's the introduction. I'm talking about the OVA, the two parts. I'm not talking about the manga or the film, but there are certain things that I can definitely see that are different from the film and the OVA. If you compare the two, just the trailer to the film and what happens in the OVA, there's a definitely different tone, a different focus, I guess, and different characterization for Alita herself. Interestingly enough, she was not named Alita in the OVA, which took me off guard. Alita doesn't even appear in the title. Also, the title of Gunnm Battle Angel needs a little bit of explanation, because it's spelled Gunnm in the English version, but it's said in Japanese Gunnm, because they cannot end a word without having a vowel attached to the end. So I just call it Gunnm. It just simplifies things. I don't want to try and say Gunnm, but that's what it is. And strangely enough, it has a subtitle, an extra subtitle, as if it didn't already have enough of one, and that is Hyperfusion Vision. Okay, which is hilarious, and I love it. In fact, when I saw the trailer for the new movie that was coming out, Alita Battle Angel, I laughed aloud because it sounded so ridiculous. Then I heard that it was based on a manga, and I went, oh, okay, I get it. A lot of anime and manga have sentence-long titles, and it's so dramatic and ridiculous, it totally fits. But the difference between the movie and the OVA, which can clearly be seen, is the difference in tone. Because when you hear Alita Battle Angel, you think of something very teenagery. You think of something very light and silly and with a lot of action and fun. The OVA is not very fun, okay? It is very much a serious, tragic, almost melodramatic, grim, dark story set in a very, very sad, downtrodden version of a future world in which the elites have set themselves above the earth, literally, in a floating city that is perfectly sealed off from the rest of the world, which is now overpopulated and is just the dumping grounds for that city above, which is called Zalem, which I'm sure is a reinterpretation of the Hebrew word Salem, which means peace. They named the city Peace, which really reminds me of the recent film Elysium, which I saw, which has that separation between the elite living on a space station and the rest of the world, which is living on an overpopulated Earth. And this Earth in Battle Angel is just decrepit. It's decaying. Most people are cyborgs, living off of synthetics and just trying to eke out a meager existence on the trash they get from above in pipes. And there's no police, there's no military. It's just, if someone does something wrong, a bounty is set on your head, and bounty hunters come after you, usually to kill you and sell your body parts for cybernetics. And this is the world in which Battle Angel Alita, or Battle Angel Gali, which is her name in the OVA, Gali, or Gali, as they say it in Japanese. That's her name, and she was dropped from the floating city of Zalem into the dumpster world of the earth below. And a doctor, Dr. Ito, finds her head, her disembodied head, which is still alive somehow, in the rubble. And he brings her back to life, names her Gali, because she doesn't have any memories, and she comes to life and has to deal with life on the surface, which is a dog-eat-dog world. And if you've watched the OVA, you'll know that that has more meaning to it than meets the eye. But very sad things happen in this show, very dark, and I love it. It's actually much more adult than I would recommend. There's a bunch of nudity in it. There are like 2 scenes, very quick scenes, but that have almost full nudity. And so I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, except for the more mature people looking for high art in the anime world. Of course, the strange thing about high art nowadays is that it usually entails the most films or anime that show the worstest of garbage places and the sin of man and delving into the deep evils of humanity. And this show definitely does. This OVA definitely does. However, the aesthetics are just shockingly, yet again, shockingly, exactly in my wheelhouse, exactly what I want from a film or an anime. People are wearing trench coats all of the time. People are wearing wide-brimmed hats. Using, like I said in Princess Chika, if you've seen that, my discussion on Chika the Coffin Princess, there are blade whips that are in use in this, and crazy, I don't know if it's Sakuga, I guess it's Sakuga, very fast action animation. And the animation in this isn't top-notch. It goes below the average threshold of animation quite often, but there's just certain stills, certain pictures that are just beautiful and amazing, which is basically par for the course in animation, but something that is much above average for animation these days are the backgrounds. The backgrounds are hand-drawn, and the decaying, rusty landscape and cityscape, it's just beautiful all the time. Beautiful in its decayed state, which you don't generally find these days. These days, the backgrounds are digitized and just synthetically reproduced off of still pictures that have been taken of existing locations and then digitized to look like it's animated. And the characters generally don't fit into those backgrounds because they themselves are either hand-drawn or digitally drawn in a extremely cartoony or anime fashion, and so they don't usually fit. And they don't fit in that well in this show either, not because of those reasons, but because the backgrounds are so detailed. And while the characters are detailed, more detailed than today's character designs, they're less detailed than the backgrounds, which is an odd switch. You know, these days it's the opposite. So I can only say that that's a good thing. It's better to have too much detail in the backgrounds and not enough in the characters than the opposite, I'd say, because it means that they actually care about the setting and about the world just as much as the characters. And the characters have fantastic designs. It's done by Madhouse, and one of the characters looks exactly like another character from another Madhouse anime, which happens to be my favorite, Trigun. Trigun is my favorite anime of all time. I've watched it like 6 times in full. It's a 24-episode anime, I believe, and I bought all of the manga and read it all. It is exceptional. Exceptional. The anime is a masterpiece in my opinion, but its ending is super weak, and there's lots of filler. But I love the filler, and I actually like the ending. It's not too traumatic, so I'm able to get into it. But one of the characters looks exactly like the main character, and it's the Dr. Ito who finds Battle Angel, Gali. And I don't want to get into spoilers, because this show is a lot about shock and awe, interestingly enough. And the premise has a lot to do with what happens in the show. So, and that's great. But as I was watching through the OVA, I was constantly tempted to think, this is style over substance, style over substance. And the reasoning behind that is not because it's actually style over substance, but because the first part, it's in 2 parts. The first part is all about setting up the world, and just things happen. Finds the girl, a battle scene ensues just randomly. It's not even set up that a battle scene would ensue. Things happen, people get saved, the end of the first part. And it's like, there was no lead up to that battle. There was no tension that built up to anything. There's no build up to any of the battles in the first part. The second part, however, is much different. It's much more based on characters and plot. And it takes the foundation that was set in the first part and just uses it as a framework for the rest of the plot and the characters to exist in the world, which I think is very smart, Very well done. And so it seems style over substance because a lot of those action scenes have no build-up. They just happen. And the battle scenes are shockingly good. They're just really visceral, hyper-violent to a certain degree. And they leave you just with your breath taken. Your breath is taken away. They are breathtaking scenes. And then it goes back to normal life and the aftermath of the battles, and people just have to talk it out. Yes, it seems style over substance, but the substance is there. The plot is actually very deep. There are a lot of characters with backstories that are referenced, and there's a lot of history to this world, which is referenced but not really gone into. And that actually is where this show shines. The key to what makes Gunnm Battle Angel a good story, a good film, if you will, if you put both parts together, is that the story, the background, all of that is extremely condensed into a very small period of time, because it's only 55 minutes long if you squish both of them together and watch them back to back. It's a 55-minute long story, and you get the sense that there's so much more that this story could be, but they only showed a very small glimpse into this world. And it's not like they tried to... sorry. It's not like the pacing is out of joint or anything. It's very well paced. It's not super fast paced. It allows you to feel out the atmosphere of the world and the environment, to feel what the characters are feeling. But instead, it's paced out like a movie, like a very well-paced film. And it only deals with a very small series of events, and it just ends at it's a tragic ending, but it just ends and leaves you to imagine what might happen next. With the manga, it allows you to see what happens next. So yes, beautiful, beautiful visuals, beautiful designs, I should say. The visuals are a little sloppy every once in a while, but it's in such a great world. It's heavily inspired by Blade Runner. But I love it. I love Blade Runner, the original movie. I liked the recent Blade Runner less because it had less of the aesthetics that were in the original Blade Runner, which show up more in Gunnm Battle Angel and Alita Battle Angel, the manga. And that's where it differs from the movie, it seems, because the movie seems very clean, very brightly colored, just almost garish in how beautiful it looks. The manga and the OVA, however, it's grunge, dark, noir. Noir is the word. It's very noir, and I love it. If you want to know what I'm into in terms of sci-fi, watch this movie and watch Blade Runner. But yes, that's a spoiler-free discussion of Gunnm Battle Angel. Also, one thing that I forgot to mention about the title is why it's called Gunnm, because they originally wanted to have the title be Gun Dream, and I understand the dream part because it's like several people in the show actually want to get back to Zalem, the city in the sky, to live a life of luxury, which they can't if they're living below. They're trapped below in this rat-eaten garbage city. And that's the dream that leads many to their destruction. And that's the moral of the story. It's a very moralistic story as well, which also makes it kind of a masterpiece of a narrative. It's better to love those close to you than to seek something that is far away and a pipe dream, if you will. So yes, it was going to be called Gun Dream, but then they just called it Gunnm, which, you know, having the word gun in your title is always going to make sure that people are interested, because people love guns. I love guns. Then the word gun is great. It's poppy. Like a pop gun. But I love the character of Ito. I love his design. Like I said, it looks just like Trigun. He has a freaking weapon that is amazing. It's basically, again, I have to reference Bloodborne. Everything I like lines up with Bloodborne in some way or another. Chaika the Coffin Princess, this OVA, Gunnm Battle Angel, and Bloodborne, they all contain these super cool weapons and hyper-violence to some degree or another. I don't know why they all have to be hyper-violent, but I guess dealing with the more dark aspects of human nature is something else that I'm very interested in. So thanks for listening. I hope that you watch the rest of my discussion videos in black and white. It's kind of a series now. You can watch those on my channel. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for another video like this. It's very low energy, casual way of doing videos, easier than streaming, which I thought was super easy before, but my health has been prohibitive. So yes, if you want to support me, do those things. Till next time, goodbye.